Hello, I'm recording this video to help you with your first lab, number 1, the invertebrates of Tampa Bay. You'll be required to fill in a table, and that table should entail these organisms. So we will run through each organism quickly, and I'll give you a brief description of each. The first 3 phyla are the simplest phyla, the Porifera, which are the sponges, the Cnidaria, which refer to the gelatinous stinging organisms, and the Ctenophora, the comb jellies. The C is silent on both of those phyla. The 2 organisms pictured here are common sponges, the sheep's wool sponge and the finger sponge. The golf ball sponge and the vase sponge are commonly washed up on our beaches. Please remember that each one of these sponges should be listed as a separate organism on your table. The holes in this shell is evidence of our parasitic boring sponge. They are parasitic on other organisms and leave this as evidence of their existence. The moon jelly is a very common jellyfish. The gonads are those center crescents. Here's one in the waters of Fort DeSoto. The stinging nettle is another common jelly that is found in our area. The jellies belong to the phylum Cnidaria. Sea whips are our non-colonial coral. They also belong to Cnidaria. Sea feathers are in the same non-colonial coral group as the sea whips. These are protected and should be left alone because coral is a protected group of animals. The common anemone is found in the waters of Fort DeSoto. The common anemone is also a Cnidaria. The comb jellies, which are also found in our local waters, are not Cnidaria because they lack stinging cells. They have gelatinous tentacles that trap plankton for their meals. Some oddball taxa that we look at, the worms. Things that also exist are the brachiopods and the bryozoa. The brachiopods and bryozoa feed with a tentacle called a lothophore, and they are not common. Mollusks are very common, but there's a couple of group of mollusks that are a little less common. The chitin, which are segmented, the tusks, which is a rare mollusk, and the cephalopods, which means head foot, squid and octopus. There's a couple of chordates that are also oddballs that we will get to. The sandworm burrows into the sand. You can notice it by its feces and some of the sand that it uses moves out of its burrow in the shallows and in the mudflats. So when birds are wading in the mudflats, they're looking for that so they can peck into the soft sediment and pull out these sandworms. Parchment worms are found a little bit deeper, but when they're in season, their parchment-like bodies wash up the shore, and the beaches are littered with these parchment worms. We find a variety of worm egg cases. Worm egg cases are not an organism, so you don't need to classify them, but the parchment worm and the sandworm are organisms that need to be classified. The chitin is a segmented mollusk. They are rather small in our area. This specimen, which is a larger specimen, was found in the Florida Keys. The tusk shells are very fragile shells that are found washed up ashore. chances are you will not find a tusk shell because they are easily damaged. Squid are tentacle on the head, so they belong to head foot. Trivia, the giant squid has the largest eye in the animal kingdom. Bivalve means two-part shells. They belong to the phylum Mollusca, or the mollusks. Here is the sunray Venus. They're very attractive. Here is the crossbar Venus. They're a smaller bivalve and their shells litter the beach. The southern quahog is a robust shell. The smooth or Atlantic cockle is the large cockle shell. Cockle shell means heart. We find a lot of Gulf cockles, which are much smaller. And we also find the prickly cockle, which has little spines on its shell. The stiff sea pen is often found on our beaches, and that shiny nacre, as it's called, is referred to as mother of pearl. The Asian mussel is an exotic that is known for fouling pipes and attaching to boats and engines. The Asian mussel. The common jingle can come in the light variety or the darker variety depending on the mineral sand that it grows in, and they are also used in wind chimes. The bay scallop is an environmental indicator because it is sensitive to pollution. Scallops are known for the ears located on the bottom of their shells. We also find many calico scallops washed up. Calico scallops are very colorful and they live in a little deeper water, but they commonly wash ashore. A rare find is the flat zigzag scallop. They also live a little deeper, but they're often found washed ashore. The angel wing is another bivalve that is found on our beaches. The buttercup lucine is also found on our beaches. The incongruous arc is a common bivalve that we find as well. The eastern oyster lives attached to seawalls, forms reef, lives attached to mangrove roots. They're very important as water cleaners because they filter the water, and they're easily manipulated to form oyster reefs where we can use them for erosion abatement. The southern surf clam is commonly washed up ashore as well. And the spiny jewel box, not to be confused with the smaller kitten's paw. Coquinas live in the surf zone and they're constantly being washed up and then they dig back into the sand. They are the sign of a healthy beach. The turkey wing is kind of a nifty looking shell that we often find washed ashore. And the cardita, again meaning heart because many shells resemble a heart, is also found washed ashore quite a bit. Here is the razor clam, which is rare, and the channeled duck clam, which is rather common. Gastropod means stomach foot, and we refer to them also as univalves, like snails, one shell, or nudibranchs, slugs, no shell. Alphabet cone snails are beautiful, and they're washed up the shore after storms. The knobby periwinkle. The keyhole limpet, these little snails live on seawalls and on hard surfaces, and during low tide they glue themselves down, and then during high tide, they crawl around on the hard structure. Scotch bonnets are very interesting looking shells. And the lightning whelk, named after its lightning-like markings coming from the apex, is the only left-handed snail in our area, meaning the aperture is on the left side of the shell. Here are the lightning whelk eggs. The horse conch is our state shell. This is a carnivorous snail with orange flesh. The Florida worm snail looks similar to a worm. The crown conch is common in our grass flats at Fort DeSoto. It's also referred to as the king's crown. The banded tulip is one of the smaller tulips and has prominent bands. There are its egg casings. True tulip is larger and lacking those prominent bands, but has a similar shape. The shark's eye used to be called a moon snail, but there was another moon snail, so this was termed shark's eye. The slipper snail is also called mermaid's toenails. They have a platform inside of them, so they live more like a univalve attached to each other in stacks. The common auger is a small cone snail that lives in the shallows of Fort DeSoto. The Florida fighting conch is a cool snail that when you find them live and pick them out, they often wiggle, 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 how they got their name fighting, trying to shake loose because they assume you're a predator. The pear whelk is a common snail here as well, shaped like a pear. Lettered olives are very smooth, shiny snails. And the nudibranch we have common here is called the sea hare or inkfish even. That is a naked gastropod, a slug. Our arthropods, the most common phyla because of insects, they're also very common in the ocean. Common to our area are the horseshoe crabs, which are a unique type of arthropod, more related to a spider. They are not your typical crustacean. They have the blue copper-based blood. The hermit crab, which moves from shell to shell as it grows. The spider crab, which decorates its back with little shells and grass to use as camouflage. The stone crab, this one has no claws. They are famous for their meat. These claws grow back, so they are a sustainable resource if managed properly. The blue crab is one of the more common crabs in our flats. And the fiddler crab, which lives in the intertidal zone and burrows. That is a male because it has the large claw for display. The females do not possess the large claw. Calico crabs and sand fleas are other arthropods we find. And barnacles, believe it or not, are arthropods. Although they don't move, they have their jointed appendages that they wave in the water. Echinoderm means spiny skin. Sea stars and brittle stars are echinoderms. So are the sea urchins. You see they decorate themselves as well to blend in. And the sea cucumber is also an echinoderm. The sand dollar is a flattened sea urchin. Now, invertebrate chordates, we belong to chordates, that means dorsal nerve cord, but there are simple ones, the tunicates, and all of these are examples of tunicates. The ones on the left are called sea pork. They are all tunicates. They filter feed. As larvae, they resemble fish. Now, when you're completing your lab, each one of these entries should be listed as an organism. You can put tunicates as one organism, phylum Chordata. You can put barnacles as one organism, although there's several types of barnacles, phylum Arthropoda. So each one of these slides should be entered as an organism.